Anya, it is so lovely to see you. Um, as we kick off another security forum with big thinkers and spy chiefs and political leaders and journalists and all the rest flying in to Aspen this year, I wanted to touch base with you and get a sense of what has changed, what hasn't since we all last gathered. So I wanted to start with the big themes that you see us focusing on. I will open the bidding with a wild guess that AI is going to play a bigger role in conversations this year than it may have in years past.
It will, absolutely. Thanks, Mary Louise, and thanks for moderating for us this week. We're really excited to welcome everyone to the Aspen Security Forum. You know, the reason we have everyone, travel gods permitting, come all the way out to this beautiful place, Aspen in the Rocky Mountains, is because you can really immerse yourself and you can think bigger and you can step away from the day-to-day and really think about the challenges of the future, not just those that are right in front of us. And you're right, that tech is a very important theme. Now, we have been talking about AI for at least the last 3 Aspen Security Fora, so we're not new to this, but we're really doing a deep dive on all things technology. You know, the speed of technical change has really outstripped our government's ability to think it through, regulate it appropriately. And so we're going to focus on that. How is technology going to change the wars of the future? How can the world responsibly develop artificial intelligence? Do we need new treaties? Do we need to think about a whole new area of arms control for this? Those are the kinds of themes we'll be discussing.
Well, I'm thinking of a panel that I'll be moderating on financial crime and how different that looks in terms of what opportunities are out there for criminals and in terms of the law enforcement that's trying to track them down and keep this from happening as well. So that all feeds in. What about the major fault lines that have defined conversations on national security for so long? Great powers rivalries, the democracy versus autocracy divide that President Biden is so fond of speaking of. How is that going to factor into our conversations this year?
Yeah, this is a really dangerous time. You know, if I had to say it in one sentence, it's great powers are acting badly. And I think for the first time in decades, we can really imagine great power conflict happening very soon and on our doorstep. I think that's part of the reason you see so much high level interest. You know, we have CIA Director Bill Burns, Jake Sullivan, Tony Blinken, Linda Thomas Greenfield, a lot of senior administration officials coming, and a lot of officials from around the world. We've really pushed hard to increase how many international people we have at the Aspen Security Forum, because it's really a conversation for all of us. You know, how is great power conflict going to affect Kenya? How is it going to affect Israel? We have France and UK at the table. So that's an important through line.
I know you have been pondering a warning from Henry Kissinger about the risk of sleepwalking in a dangerous moment. Elaborate on that for me.
Yeah, part of that is that line from Henry Kissinger I love, because what he talks about is that in World War I, the great powers sleepwalked into conflict and they didn't know quite how devastating it was going to be, because technology had fundamentally changed how much damage you could wreak. And, you know, we worry about that now. Nobody wants a war between the US and China over Taiwan. Yet when you hear some of the saber rattling that comes out of Washington, out of the US Congress, that comes out of the Chinese, we worry that everyone is walking into something we don't quite want. And so this, again, is an important opportunity to step back and think, how do we prevent this conflict? It isn't only about making the news of the day and making the headlines, but it's, you know, we're all in this business to make more peace, to prevent wars, to end the wars that are already happening. So stepping back for 3 days to think about how we most effectively do that, I think comes at an important time.
You know, this is the Aspen Security Forum. We're focused on national security. We're focused on, you mentioned Bill Burns and other spy chiefs who will be there. I'm thinking of my long years covering the intelligence beat and how it was drilled into me early on. Intelligence, national security, this is supposed to be an area that's too important for politics, that should rise above partisan bickering because our security is at stake. Does that feel like it still holds in 2023 in an era where everything is defined by partisan bickering and as we gear up for another election cycle and another election cycle that looks to be dominated by former President Trump?
Yeah, great question. I'm not sure it holds in Washington, but we certainly hope that it holds out in Aspen and at the Security Forum. We have really wanted to reach out across the aisle. So we have two former Trump cabinet secretaries, Mike Pompeo and Mark Esper, who will be with us, a lot of senior commentators and politicians on the Republican side as well, lots of conservative news outlets represented, because the goal of Aspen has always been to have a civil conversation. We may disagree with each other, we may have different views. So I don't know if we can quite get to partisanship stops at the border and we all move forward, but we can certainly air our differences respectfully and thoughtfully and all try to get to the right answer.
And in mountain air. And with good food
and
good
hopefully some hiking.
Anya Manuel, and some hiking in there as well along the Rio Grande. Anya Manuel, it's a pleasure. I can't wait to see you in Aspen.
Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.